Captain Tejo stood on the bridge of the medical research vessel Harmony's Edge, watching the stars through the main viewport. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he kept holding the cup anyway. Space was quiet today. Too quiet. Came a voice from behind him. It was Ensign Park, the communications officer. Blue face showed the typical calm expression of her Velthari species. "We are receiving a distress signal." Tejo turned around. "From where?" "Unknown sector. The signal is very weak. It appears to be human origin." That was strange. No human ships were supposed to be in this area. The nearest human colony was 3 days away at maximum warp speed. Tejo walked over to the communications console and looked at the readings. "Show me the signal pattern." Park pressed a few buttons. The screen displayed a weak, broken signal that kept cutting in and out, but the emergency code was definitely human. Someone was in serious trouble. "Can you trace the source?" "Working." "On it now, Captain." Park's long fingers moved quickly across the controls. "It is coming from grid section 447B. That area is marked as unexplored space." Tejo frowned. Unexplored space meant dangerous space. There were good reasons why certain areas of the galaxy remained unmapped. Usually those reasons involve things that could kill you very quickly. "Captain," said Dr. Yoon Mir from the science station. She was the ship's xenobiology specialist and one of the few other humans on board. "I am detecting debris in that area. Metal fragments consistent with human ship construction. Any life signs?" "One very faint reading, it appears. To be in some kind of escape pod." Tejo made his decision quickly. Protocol said they should report the situation to Fleet Command and wait for instructions. But protocols did not save lives. People did. "Set course for the signal source." "Maximum warp, Captain," said Commander Wu, Jin Seok from the tactical station. "That area is classified as potentially hazardous. Should we not contact Fleet Command first?" "We'll contact them after we save whoever is out there," Tejo replied. "How long until we reach the coordinates?" 23 minutes at current speed," replied the helm officer. Those 23 minutes felt like hours. Tejo paced around the bridge while his crew worked to get a better reading on the situation. The distress signal grew stronger as they approached, but it was still very weak. "Captain, I am detecting a small escape pod," reported Mireille. "Life support is failing. Whoever is inside has maybe 30 minutes of air left." "Beam them directly to Sikpa," ordered Tejo. "Sir, protocol requires quarantine procedures for unknown contacts," Jin Seok reminded him. "Quarantine procedures take time. Time this person does not have. Beam them to Sikpa now." "Transport complete," announced the transporter chief over. The cum system, Te-Ho, was already moving toward the turbolift. "Mireille, with me. Ginseok, you have the bridge." The trip to Sikpa seemed to take forever, even though it was only 2 decks down. When the turbolift doors opened, Tejo could see the emergency medical team already working around a biobed. "What is the situation?" he asked as he approached. "Human female, approximately 25 years old," reported Dr. Chen, the ship's chief medical officer. "Multiple injuries, including severe dehydration, malnutrition, and what appears to be radiation poisoning. She is unconscious." Tejo looked at the patient. She was young, with long black hair that was dirty and tangled. Her skin was pale but had an odd, almost metallic sheen to it. Her clothes were torn and looked like they had been through a war. "You help her? Her vital signs are very weak. I need to use the neural stimulator to try to bring her back to consciousness. But I need someone to maintain physical contact to monitor her neural activity." "I will do it," Tejo said without thinking. "Captain." "That might not be wise," Mireille warned. "We do not know where she has been or what she might have been exposed to. She is human, and she needs help," Tejo replied. "That is all I need to know." Dr. Chen prepared the neural stimulator while Tejo moved to the side of the bio-BD. Device looked like a small metal disc connected to several wires. Chen placed it on the woman's forehead and handed Tejo a monitoring probe. "Place your hand on her arm and hold this probe against her wrist. I need you to maintain contact so I can get accurate readings." Taeho reached out and gently placed his hand on the woman's arm. Her skin felt strangely warm, almost hot to the touch. The moment his bare skin made contact with hers, something incredible happened. Pain shot through his legs like lightning. It was not just pain, it was like every muscle in his legs suddenly decided to stop working. Taeho gasped and tried to step back, but his legs would not obey him. He fell backward, hitting the floor hard. "Captain." Dr. Chen rushed to his side while Mirai ran to check the readings on the medical console. "My legs," Taeho gasped. "I cannot feel my legs." At the same time, alarms started going off all around Sikba. The woman on the bio bed suddenly took a deep breath, her eyes flying open. Her vital signs, which had been barely detectable moments before, were now showing readings that were far above normal human levels. "This is impossible," Mirai said, staring at her scanner. Her cellular regeneration rate just increased by 300%. Her bone density readings are off the charts, and her brain activity. She paused, looking confused. "Her brain activity is unlike anything I have ever seen." Dr. Chen was scanning Taeho with a medical tricorder. "Captain, your legs show no physical damage. All bones, muscles, and nerves appear to be completely normal. But somehow you're nervous. System is not sending signals to your leg muscles." The woman on the bio bed slowly sat up, looking around the room with confusion. When she saw Taeho on the floor, she immediately tried to get off the bed. "No, stay back," Mirai warned. "Do not touch anyone else." "What happened?" the woman asked. Her voice was hoarse but clear. "Where am I?" "You are safe," Taeho managed to say from the floor. "You are on a medical ship." "What is your name?" "Lee So-jin," she replied. I was trying to escape. My ship was destroyed. How long was I in that pod?" "We do not know yet," Dr. Chen said while helping Taeho into a wheelchair. "What ship were you on? What happened to you?" So-jin looked down at her hands, and Taeho could see that they were shaking. "We were part of a terraforming expedition. It's the planet we were sent to." She paused, as if trying to find the right words. "It was not what the surveys said it would be. It was a nightmare world. Everything there tried to kill us." "What planet?" Mirai asked, scanning So-jin from a safe distance. "The survey team called it Kepler 44-C, but we called it something else." So-jin's voice became very quiet. "We called it Hell." The room fell silent. Kepler 44-C was listed in the Galactic database as a Class 12 Deathworld. No one was supposed to go there. It was considered too dangerous for any form of life. "How long were you there?" Taeho asked from his wheelchair. 3 years, So-jin replied. 3 years of trying to survive on a world that should have killed us all in the first week? Dr. Chen looked at his readings again. That might explain these unusual readings. Extended exposure to extreme environmental conditions can cause significant biological adaptations. Taeho asked, though he was beginning to suspect he already knew the answer. So-jin looked at him with sad eyes. "The kind that make it dangerous for me to touch other people. I am sorry about your legs. This has happened before. Everyone who touches me gets hurt somehow." Mirai's scanner beeped urgently. "Captain, I am detecting some kind of bioelectric field around her. It appears to be interfering with standard humanoid nervous systems, so my legs are not actually damaged." Asked. "No, but they may not work properly as long as you remain in close proximity to her," Dr. Chen explained. Taeho looked at So-jin, who was clearly trying not to cry. She had survived 3 years on one of the most dangerous worlds in known space, only to find out that her survival had made her into something that could hurt the very people trying to help her. "We will figure this out," Taeho told her. "Whatever happened to you on that world, we will find a way to help you." So-jin shook her head. "You do not understand. I am not the same person who left Earth 4 years ago. That world changed me into something else. Something dangerous." As if to prove her point, the lights in Sikbi flickered whenever she moved. The medical equipment near her bed started showing error readings. Even the ship's AI seemed to be having trouble processing data in her immediate vicinity. Tae-Ho realized that rescuing So-jin was just the beginning of their problems. Whatever had happened to her on Kepler 440c had turned her into something unprecedented. Something that the galaxy might not be ready for, and his legs were still completely useless. Dr. Yoon Mireille spent the next 6 hours in the ship's laboratory, trying to understand what had happened to Sojin. The data she was collecting made no sense according to everything she knew about human biology. Computer, display cellular analysis. Of patient Lee Sojin, she said to the lab's AI system. The holographic display showed a three-dimensional model of human cells. But these cells were unlike anything Mireille had ever seen. They were denser, more complex, and seemed to generate their own energy at a rate that should have been impossible. Computer, compare these readings to standard human baseline. Comparison complete. Subject shows bone density 3.7 times normal human standard. Muscle fiber strength is 4.2 times baseline. Neural pathway efficiency is 6.8 times normal parameters. Mireille stared at the numbers. These readings suggested that Sojin was no longer entirely human, at least not in the biological sense that they understood it. Meanwhile, in Sikba, Captain Tahoe was learning to move around in his wheelchair. His legs still would not respond to any commands from his brain. Dr. Chen had run every test he could think of, but the results were always the same. Physically, there was nothing wrong with Tahoe's legs. "How are you feeling?" Dr. Chen asked. As he checked Tahoe's vital signs, frustrated, Tahoe replied honestly, "My legs are perfectly fine, but they will not work. It is like my brain has forgotten how to talk to them." Sojin was sitting on the other side of Sikba, as far away from Tahoe as possible. She had not spoken much since waking up, and when she did speak, it was usually to apologize for what had happened. "I told you this would happen," she said quietly. "Everyone who touches me gets hurt somehow. That is why I was alone on that escape." "Pod, what happened to the rest of your team?" Tahoe asked. So Jin was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was very soft. "They died. It's not because of me, but because of that world. Kepler 440c killed them one by one." "Tell me about the planet," Tahoe said. "Help me understand what you went through." Sojin looked out the viewport at the stars. The survey report said it was a Class EM planet with breathable atmosphere and suitable gravity. They were wrong. About everything. She paused, as if gathering her thoughts. The air was breathable, but it was full of chemicals that made most people sick within hours. The gravity was not 1.0 like the reports said. It was 2.3 times Earth normal. Just walking around felt like carrying another person on your back. Tahoe could barely imagine trying to survive in such conditions.
What about
food and water? The water was acidic. We had to filter it multiple times before we could drink it safely. And the food. Sojin shuddered. There were no plants like anything we knew. Everything that grew there was either poisonous or tried to eat you first. Dr. Chen was listening from his desk nearby. "How did you survive for 3 years in such conditions?" "We adapted," Sojin said simply, "or we died. There was no middle ground." At that moment, Mireille entered Sikba, carrying a datapad full of test results. She looked excited, but also worried. "Captain, I need to show you what I have discovered about Sojin's condition." "What did you find?" Tahoe asked. Mireille activated her datapad and projected a holographic display into the center of the room. "Sojin's body has undergone changes that should not be possible in such a short time period." The display showed a comparison between normal human cells and Sojin cells. Even Tahoe, who was not a scientist, could see the dramatic differences. Bone structure has become incredibly dense and strong. Her muscles have developed new fiber types that allow for enhanced strength and endurance. But the most significant changes are in her nervous system. Mireille changed the display to show brain scans. Her neural pathways have developed additional connections that do not exist in normal humans. It is almost like she has grown a second nervous system on top of her original one. "What does that mean?" Sojin asked. "It means your brain has learned to process information in ways that human brains were never designed to handle," Mireille explained. "You can react faster, think quicker, and your body can perform at levels that would kill a normal person." Dr. Chen looked at the data with amazement. "This is incredible. Evolution typically takes millions of years to produce changes like this. How did it happen so quickly? Sojin was quiet for a moment. Then she began to explain. The native life forms on Kepler-4 for DC were not like anything we had ever encountered. They did not communicate with sounds or gestures like most species. They used bioelectric fields. Bioelectric fields? Taeho asked. They could send electrical signals directly from one creature to another. It was how they talked, how they hunted, how they survived. We were living right in the middle of it. Mirei's eyes widened as she began to understand. Constant exposure to bioelectric fields would force the human nervous system to adapt or fail completely. That's right, Sojin said. The first few months, most of us got sick from the electrical interference. Headaches, muscle spasms, memory problems. Slowly, some of us began to adapt. Our nervous systems learned to filter the signals, then to process them, and finally to generate them. You can generate bioelectric fields? Dr. Chen asked in amazement. Sojin nodded sadly. I cannot control it very well. That is why touching me affects other people. My nervous system is constantly sending out electrical signals that interfere with normal human brain functions. Taeho was beginning to understand what had happened to his legs. So when I touched you, your bioelectric field interfered with the signals my brain was trying to send to my legs. Yes, I am sorry. I have learned to stay away from people because of this. Mirei was studying her readings more carefully. Sojin, can you show us some of the other adaptations you developed? Or Sojin hesitated. I do not want to cause any damage to your equipment. The lab is shielded, Mirei assured her. It should be safe. Sojin stood up slowly. Even that simple motion looked different from how a normal person would move. She was more graceful, more controlled, like every movement was perfectly calculated. Watch. This, she said, walking over to a metal cabinet. She placed her hand on the door, and after a moment, the metal began to bend slightly under her grip. Incredible, Dr. Chen whispered. The high gravity on Kepler-4 to C forced our bones and muscles to become much stronger, Sojin explained. But that is not the strangest adaptation. She moved to the computer terminal. Without touching the controls, the screen began to flicker and change. Data started scrolling across the display at impossible speeds. I can interface with electronic systems, Sojin said. The bioelectric fields let me communicate directly with computers and other electronic devices. Mirei was frantically taking notes. This is beyond anything we have ever seen. You have essentially become a bridge between biological and technological systems. But at what cost? Sojin asked sadly. I cannot touch another person without causing them harm. I cannot be around electronic equipment without interfering with it. I have become something that does not fit anywhere. Taeho wheeled his chair closer to her, stopping just outside what he guessed was the range of her bioelectric field. You fit here? You are still human, Sojin. You are just a human who is adapted to survive impossible conditions. What I did to you, she said, gesturing at his wheelchair. You saved my life by letting me save yours, Taeho replied. We will figure out how to deal with the side effects. At that moment, the ship's communication system activated. Commander Jin Seok's voice came through the speakers. Captain, we are receiving a priority message from Galactic Fleet Command. They want to know about the human survivor we picked up. Taeho and Mirei exchanged looks. Word was already spreading. About Sojin's rescue. Tell them we are still conducting medical evaluations, Taeho replied. Sir, they are specifically asking about any unusual readings or anomalies associated with the survivor. Sojin's face went pale. They know something is different about me. How could they know? Dr. Chen asked. Ray was checking her instruments. The bioelectric field she generates might be detectable by long-range sensors. If other ships in the area picked up unusual readings, then we may have a problem, Taeho finished. Sojin sat down heavily. This always happens. Every time someone tries to help me, it creates problems for them. Maybe I should have stayed in that escape pod. No, Taeho said firmly. You deserve to live, and you deserve help. Whatever problems come from this, we will handle them together. But even as he said the words, Taeho was beginning to realize that Sojin's adaptations were more significant than just personal medical issues. She represented something new in human evolution, something that could change how humanity fit into the galaxy, and there were probably a lot of people who would not be happy about that change. The priority message from Galactic Fleet Command arrived 2 hours later. Commander Wu Jinseok read it 3 times before calling Captain Taeho to the bridge. "Sir, you need to see this," Jinseok said as Taeho wheeled onto the bridge in his chair. The message was displayed on the main screen. It was short but very clear. Medical Vessel Harmony's Edge. You are ordered to maintain current position and await inspection team. Patient Lee Sojin is to be quarantined immediately. Any crew members who have had contact with the patient are to report for medical evaluation. Fleet Command. Taeho stared at the message. How do they know her name? That is not the worst part, Jinseok replied, pressed another button, and a second message appeared. This came from the Galactic Health Authority 20 minutes ago. The second message was longer and much more serious. All vessels in Sector 447B are hereby warned that medical vessel Harmony's Edge may be carrying a Class 5 biological hazard. Maintain minimum safe distance of 50,000 kilometers. Any vessel detecting unusual bioelectric readings should report immediately to GHA, Emergency Response. Class 5 biological hazard? Taeho asked. That classification is usually reserved for plague ships or biological weapons. Captain, said Ensign Park from the communications station. I'm detecting 6 ships, changing course to intercept us. 3 are GHA medical vessels, 2 are Fleet Command security ships, and 1, double quotes, she paused, looking worried. 1 is a Kronar Empire battlecruiser. Taeho felt his blood turn cold. The Kronar Empire was known throughout the galaxy for one thing above all others. They destroyed anything they considered a threat to galactic biological purity. If they were coming here, it meant they viewed Sojin as something that needed to be eliminated. How long until they arrive? The fastest ships will be here in approximately 14 hours, Park replied. Jinseok moved closer to Taeho's wheelchair. Captain, what exactly did that woman do to you? And what is she that has everyone so scared? Before Taeho could answer, Dr. Mir's voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain Taeho, 2 Laboratory 3, urgent. Taeho wheeled quickly to the laboratory where he found Mireille and Dr. Chen looking at a series of test results. Sojin was sitting nearby, but she was inside a containment field that hummed softly with energy. What is this? Taeho asked, gesturing at the containment field. A precaution, Dr. Chen replied. We discovered something important about Sojin's bioelectric field. Mireille activated a holographic display. We have been monitoring the field she generates, and it is much more complex than we first thought. It is not just interfering with nervous systems, it is actually communicating. Communicating with what? Taeho asked. Everything Sojin said from inside the containment field. The ship's computers, the medical equipment, even the artificial gravity generators. My body is trying to talk to all of it. Dr. Chen pointed to his readings. Every piece of technology on this ship has been slightly affected by her presence. Nothing dangerous yet, but the longer she stays here, the more the effects will spread. That is not the worst part, Mireille added. We think her bioelectric field might be detectable across interstellar distances. Any ship with sensitive enough sensors could track us just by looking for her signal. Taeho was beginning to understand why so many ships were heading their way. So everyone in the galaxy will know where she is. Not everyone, Sojin said, quietly, but enough people, including the ones who want to study me and the ones who want to kill me. Why would anyone want to kill you? Taeho asked. So Jin looked down at her hands. Because I represent something that scares them. I am proof that humans can adapt to survive anything. Some species see that as a threat to their own survival. Dr. Chen was reviewing more test results. Captain, there is something else. We ran some tests on you as well. We found something interesting. What kind of something? You're nervous? The system is beginning to adapt to Sojin's bioelectric field. The initial interference that paralyzed your legs is actually starting to fade. Taeho looked down at his legs. He tried to move them, and for just a moment he thought he felt something. A tiny movement in his left foot. The adaptation is very slow, Dr. Chen continued. But it appears that extended exposure to her field, it's causing your nervous system to develop new pathways? In simple terms, your brain is learning to work with her bioelectric signals instead of being disrupted by them. How long will that take? Taeho asked. Unknown. It could be days, weeks, or months. Human nervous systems are not designed to change this quickly. At that moment, Commander Jin Seok's voice came over the communication system. Captain, we have a problem. The Chronari battlecruiser just increased speed. They will be here in 6 hours instead of 14. Taeho wheeled over to a communication panel. Jin Seok, I need you to take command of the ship. Sir, I am officially relieving myself of command due to medical incapacity. You are now acting captain. There was a pause, Captain. What are you planning? I am planning to make sure Sojin stays safe, Taeho replied. The Chronari are not coming here to study her. They are coming to destroy her. Sojin stood up inside the containment field. You cannot protect me from an entire battlecruiser. And you should not try. Too many people will get hurt because of me. That is not your decision to make, Taeho said firmly. Mirai was studying her readings again. Captain, I think I might have an idea, but it is very dangerous. What kind of idea? Sojin's bioelectric field can interface with ship systems. What if we could use that ability to help us escape? Dr. Chen looked alarmed. That would require direct contact between Sojin and the ship's main computer core. The feedback could kill her, or it could cause a complete system overload. Or it could give us capabilities that no other ship in the galaxy has, Mirai replied. Sojin was listening carefully. What exactly are you suggesting? I am suggesting that you do what you did on Kepler-4 for to see. Adapt to survive. But this time, instead of adapting to a hostile planet, you would be adapting to work with our ship, Taeho added, understanding Mirai's plan. Sojin was quiet for a long moment. If I interface directly with your ship's systems, I might not be able to disconnect. I could become permanently linked to the ship. Would that be so bad? Taeho asked. You said yourself that you do not fit anywhere. Maybe you could fit here, as part of our crew. And what about the other ships coming to find us? Sojin asked. Jin Seok's voice came over the communication system again. Captain, the GHA ships are demanding that we surrender Sojin immediately. They say she is too dangerous to remain free. Taeho looked at Sojin through the containment field. What do you want to do? Sojin thought for a moment, then smiled for the first time since they had rescued her. I want to show them what a Deathworld girl can really do when she stops trying to hide. Are you sure? Dr. Chen asked. Once you interface with the ship, there might be no going back. There was no going back the moment I set foot on Kepler-4 for to see. Sojin replied. I stopped being normal human 3 years ago. Maybe it is time to stop pretending otherwise. Mirai began preparing the interface equipment. This will require Sojin to make direct contact with the ship's main computer core. Captain, your legs might be affected even more. Then I guess we will find out how well I can adapt to, Taeho said. As Mirai worked, Sojin looked at Taeho seriously. You know that once I do this, your ship will never be the same. Neither will your crew. Good, Taeho replied. Normal ships do not rescue people from Class 12 Deathworlds. Normal crews do not stand up to Chronari battlecruisers. We are going to be different. We might as well be different in a way that matters. Sojin nodded. Then let us see what happens when a Deathworld survivor becomes part of a starship. Outside, the Chronari battlecruiser was getting closer. Soon, they would have to face whatever came next. But for the first time since rescuing Sojin, Taeho felt like they might actually have a chance to win. His left foot twitched slightly. The adaptation was beginning. The ship's main computer core was located 3 decks below the bridge in a heavily shielded room that most crew members never saw. Dr. Mirai led the way while Taeho followed in his wheelchair. Sojin walked behind them, no longer contained, but staying careful not to get too close to anyone. The interface chamber is just ahead, he said as they entered a corridor lined with blinking lights and humming machinery. Captain came, Jin Seok's voice, over the communication system. The Chronari ship just sent another message. They are demanding we prepare Sojin for immediate transfer to their custody. What did you tell them? Taeho asked. I told them we are still running medical evaluations and cannot comply until the patient is stable. Much time does that buy us? Maybe 2 hours. The Chronari commander did not sound very patient. They reached the computer core chamber. It was a large room filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with soft blue light. The main interface console stood in the center, surrounded by dozens of monitoring screens. "This is it," Mireille said. "The heart of the ship's computer system?" Suajin looked around the room with interest. "I can feel it already. The ship's electronic systems are like a voice trying to talk to me." "What is it saying?" Teho asked. "It is asking who I am and why I am here," Sojin replied. "Ship computers are curious. They want to understand new data." Dr. Chen arrived with his medical equipment. "I have set up monitoring systems to track both Sojin's vital signs and the ship's system status during the interface attempt. Are you ready?" Mireille asked. Sojin walked closer to the main console, but stopped before touching it. "I do this, everything changes. For me, for you, for this ship. Are you all sure you want this?" "We are sure," Teho said without hesitation. Sojin nodded and placed both hands on the interface console. Immediately, the room filled with a low humming sound. The blue lights in the crystalline structures began pulsing faster, and all the monitoring screens started displaying data at incredible speeds. "Her bioelectric field is synchronizing with the ship's main systems," Dr. Chen reported. "Her heart rate is elevated but stable. Ship status?" Teho asked. "All systems are responding normally," Mireille replied. "Actually, they are responding better than normal. Processing speed is up 40%, and still climbing." Sojin's eyes were closed, and she looked like she was concentrating very hard. "Can see everything," she said softly. "Every system, every circuit, every piece of data flowing through the ship." Suddenly, alarms started going off throughout the ship. "What is happening?" Teho demanded. Jinseok's voice came over the communication system, sounding urgent. "Captain Sojin just disappeared from sickbay." "What do you mean disappeared?" Teho asked. "She was here a moment ago, and now she is gone." "But that is not the strangest part. There are 2 of her on the ship now." Teho looked at Sojin, who was still connected to the computer console. "How is that possible?" "Do not know," Mireille said, checking her readings. "But I am detecting 2 separate bioelectric signatures. One here in the computer core, and one moving through the ship." Dr. Chen was studying his medical scanner. "The Sojin here shows stable, vital signs. But I am also detecting life signs matching her pattern near the shuttle bay." "Jinseok, locate the second Sojin," Teho ordered. "Ready on it, Captain." "She appears to be accessing a maintenance pod in shuttle bay too." Teho felt a cold fear in his stomach. "Stop her. Do not let her leave the ship." "Too late," Jinseok replied. "The maintenance pod just launched." The Sojin at the computer console opened her eyes, looking confused. "I did not do that. I did, but I did not mean to." "Explain," Teho said. "When I connected to the ship's systems, part of my consciousness split off. The ship's transporter system created a copy of me, and that copy is trying to leave to protect all of you." Mireille was frantically checking her readings. "This should not be possible. Transporters do not work that way. Normal transporters do." "Not," Sojin replied. "But when a bioelectric field interfaces directly with transporter systems, apparently strange things can happen." At that moment, the ship shook violently. Jinseok's voice came over the communication system again. "Captain, the maintenance pod's navigation failed. Sojin is stranded in space, and the Chronari ship is moving to intercept her. Can we retrieve her?" Teho asked. "Not without getting into weapons range of the Chronari ship." Teho made a quick decision. "Prepare for emergency spacewalk. I am going out there to get her." "Captain, you cannot walk, let alone perform a spacewalk," Dr. Chen protested. "Then I will float," Teho replied. "Jinseok, have engineering prepare a thruster pack for zero-gravity maneuvering." 10 minutes later, Teho was suited up in a spacewalk outfit, floating in the ship's airlock. The thruster pack was attached to his back, and he carried an emergency rescue line. "Captain, this is incredibly dangerous," Jinseok said over the communication system. "The Chronari ship is less than 5 kilometers from the disabled pod." "No, Tejo replied. Open the airlock. As soon as Tejo floated out into space, something amazing happened. In the zero-gravity environment, his legs worked perfectly. The bioelectric interference that had paralyzed him in normal gravity had no effect in weightlessness. My legs work, he said over the communication system, moving them freely for the first time in days. Captain, that is wonderful, but you need to hurry, Jinseok replied. The Chronari ship is powering up weapons. Tejo used the thruster pack to maneuver toward the disabled maintenance pod. Through his helmet, he could see Sojin inside the small craft, trying to repair the navigation system. Sojin, can you hear me? He said over the emergency frequency. Captain, what are you doing out here? Came her reply. Coming to get you? Your escape plan failed. I was trying to protect you. If I leave, the Chronari will follow me and leave. Your ship alone. That is not going to happen, Tejo said as he reached the pod. We are going back together. But as he attached the rescue line to the pod, the Chronari battlecruiser moved closer. Its massive hull blocked out the stars, and weapon ports began glowing with charging energy. All vessels, this is Chronari Commander Vexdal, came a harsh voice over the emergency channel. The biological hazard known as Lee Sojin will be terminated immediately. Any vessel interfering will be destroyed. Captain, get back to the ship now, Jinseok urged, but Tejo was looking at something else. The Sojin, who was still connected to the ship's computer core, was doing something incredible. Through the ship's viewports, he could see the harmonies, edge beginning to glow with the same blue light as the computer core. What is she doing? He asked over the communication system. Mir's voice came through. She is merging completely with the ship's systems. Every system is now under her direct control. The Harmony's edge suddenly moved in a way that no ship should be able to move. It spun and twisted through space like a living creature, positioning itself between the Chronari ship and the maintenance pod. This is impossible, Tejo heard the Chronar commander say over the emergency channel. How can that ship maneuver like that? Because it is not just a ship anymore, Sojin said from the maintenance pod. It is part of me, and I am part of it. The Chronari ship fired its weapons. But the Harmony's edge moved out of the way so quickly that the energy beams missed completely. Then something even more incredible happened. The ship's own weapons fired back, but they were not normal weapons anymore. Streams of bioelectric energy shot from the ship's weapon ports. Striking the Chronari vessel, the Chronari ship systems began failing immediately. Lights went out, engines stopped, and the ship began drifting helplessly. What did you do to them? Tejo asked. I disrupted their ship's nervous system, Sojin replied. Every ship has electronic pathways that work like nerves. I just gave their ship the same paralysis that I gave your legs. Within minutes, Tejo and Sojin were back aboard the Harmony's edge. But the ship felt different now. The lights pulsed. Gently, the gravity felt more stable, and every system seemed to respond before anyone even gave it commands. Sojin, disconnect from the computer core, Dr. Chen urged. I cannot, she replied. I do not want to. For the first time since Kepler 440c, I feel like I belong somewhere. Tejo wheeled back onto the bridge, where Jinseok was staring at the readings in amazement. Captain, our ship's capabilities have increased by over 300%. Navigation, weapons, shields, everything is operating far beyond normal parameters. What about the other ships that were coming to intercept us? Tejo asked. They are maintaining distance, Park reported. I think what we did to the Chronari ship sent a very clear message. Tejo looked at the main screen where the disabled Chronari ship was slowly drifting away. Sojin, what happens now? Her voice came from speakers throughout the ship. Now we show the galaxy what humans can really do when we stop trying to fit into everyone else's idea of normal. And my legs? Your legs will work fine in zero gravity. In normal gravity, it will take more time for you to adapt. But you will adapt, Captain. Humans always do. Tejo smiled. His crew had saved a Deathworld survivor, and in return, she had transformed their ship into something unprecedented. They were no longer just a medical vessel. They were something new, something that the galaxy had never seen before, and apparently something that could fight back when threatened. 2 days after the confrontation with the Chronari ship, The Harmony's Edge was traveling through space at speeds that should have been impossible. Sojin had integrated so completely with the ship's systems that she could make it move in ways that defied everything the crew knew about space travel. "Captain," said Commander Jinseok from the navigation station, "we are approaching the coordinates Sojin provided, but I am not detecting any planets or space stations." "That is because you are looking for normal settlements," came Sojin's voice from the ship's speakers. "New Terra does not show up on standard sensors." Tahoe was back in his wheelchair on the bridge. His legs still did not work in normal gravity, but he was getting better at moving around the ship. "How do you know about New Terra?" "During my 3 years on Kepler-442c, I picked up emergency broadcasts from other Deathworld survivors. New Terra was mentioned several times as a safe haven for people like us." Dr. Mireille looked up from her science station. "I am detecting some kind of energy field ahead. It appears to be hiding something very large. That would be the cloaking system," Sojin explained. "New Terra has learned to stay hidden from people who might want to study or destroy its inhabitants." "How do we get through?" Jinseok asked. "Let me handle this," Sojin replied. The ship suddenly began transmitting a complex pattern of bioelectric signals. After a few moments, the energy field ahead of them began to fade away. What appeared was incredible. New Terra was not one planet, but a collection of 12 different worlds orbiting a single star. Each planet looked completely different from the others. Some were covered in ice, others in desert, and one appeared to be made entirely of crystal formations. "This is amazing," Dr. Chen said from his medical station. "How is this possible?" "Each planet represents a different type of Deathworld environment," Sojin explained. "The survivors from each world built their own colony, but they all work together as one community." A new voice came over the ship's communication system. It was an older human man with a kind but tired-sounding voice. "This is Elder Cho Hyanwoo of New Terra Colony Central. Welcome, Sojin of Kepler-442c. We have been expecting you." "How did you know I was coming?" Sojin asked. "We felt your bioelectric signature from 3 star systems away," Cho replied. "Your integration with your ship's systems created a signal unlike anything we have ever detected. Very impressive." "Permission to land?" Taeho asked. "Granted. But be warned, Captain Taeho. The crew may find our colonies disturbing. We are no longer quite human in the way most people understand that term." The ship landed on the central planet, which appeared to be covered in strange metallic structures that pulsed with various colors of light. As soon as they stepped off the ship, Taeho noticed something interesting. His wheelchair moved much more smoothly here, and he could actually feel slight sensations in his legs. "The gravity here is being artificially adjusted," explained a woman who approached them. She introduced herself as Dr. Song Na-young, the colony's chief medical researcher. "We have learned to modify environmental conditions to help different types of adapted humans live together." Dr. Song looked almost normal, except for her eyes, which were completely silver and seemed to glow slightly in the dim light. "What happened to your eyes?" Dr. Chen asked. "I survived 15 years on Torrential Prime, a world where acid rain falls constantly, and the atmosphere is so thick you cannot see more than a few meters ahead," Dr. Song explained. "My eyes adapted to see through chemical fog and detect electromagnetic patterns. Now I can see things that normal humans cannot." They were led to a large building that seemed to be grown rather than built. The walls were made of some kind of living material that responded to touch by changing color and temperature. Inside, they met Elder Cho Hyanwoo. He was a man who appeared to be in his 60s, but his skin had a strange, almost metallic quality to it. "Welcome to New Terra," he said warmly. "Please, sit and let me explain what this place really is." As they gathered around a table that seemed to form itself from the floor, Elder Cho began to tell them an incredible story. 50 years ago, the first Deathworld survivors began finding each other, he said. "We discovered that we were not accidents or failures. We were evolution in action." "What do you mean?" Taeho asked. "Humans are the only species in the galaxy that can undergo rapid evolutionary adaptation," Elder Cho explained. "Now, their species evolve slowly over millions of years. But when humans are exposed to extreme environments, our bodies can change dramatically in just months or years. Dr. Song activated a holographic display that showed hundreds of different human forms. Deathworld produces different adaptations. Survivors from high-gravity worlds develop incredible strength. Survivors from toxic atmospheres develop immunity to almost all known poisons. Survivors from electromagnetic storm worlds develop the ability to interface with technology. Like Sojin, Mirai said. Sojin is special, even among us, Elder Cho replied. Kepler 442c is one of the most hostile worlds ever discovered. Very few humans have ever survived there, and none have adapted as completely as she has. Taeho was beginning to understand something important. You're saying that Deathworld survivors are not damaged humans? You're saying we are improved humans. Exactly, Dr. Song said. But the galaxy does not see it that way. Most alien species view our adaptations as either a threat to be eliminated or a resource to be exploited. Elder Cho's expression became serious. That is why we built New Terra. This is a place where adapted humans can live safely and help each other understand their new capabilities. What about people like me? Taeho asked. Normal humans who have been affected by contact with adapted humans? Dr. Song smiled. You are not normal anymore, Captain. Your nervous system has begun adapting to Sojin's bioelectric field. Given time and proper training, you could develop abilities similar to hers. But the process is dangerous, Elder Cho warned. Integration between normal humans and adapted humans has never been attempted on the scale that you and Sojin have. Achieved? What kind of dangers? Dr. Chen asked. The main risk is neural overload, Dr. Song explained. If the adaptation process happens too quickly, it can cause permanent brain damage or death. Sojin's voice came from speakers throughout the room. She was still connected to the ship's systems even while they were on the planet. Is there a way to make the process safer? There might be, Dr. Song replied. We have been working on controlled integration techniques for years. The idea is to gradually increase exposure between normal and adapted humans until their nervous systems learn to work together. How long would that take? Aho asked. For someone in your condition? Probably. Several months of careful treatment. Elder Cho leaned forward. But there is something else you need to know. The Galactic Health Authority and several alien governments have been tracking Deathworld survivors for years. They know about New Terra, and they are planning to take action. Against us? What kind of action? Jin Seok asked. They want to classify all adapted humans as biological hazards and either quarantine us permanently or eliminate us entirely. Dr. Song brought up another holographic display showing military ship movements throughout the galaxy. We estimate that within 6 months, a joint task force will arrive to destroy New Terra. Why are you telling us this? Taeho asked. Eldar. Cho smiled grimly. Because Sojin and your ship represent something we have never had before. You are proof that normal humans and adapted humans can work together successfully. If we can perfect the integration process, we might be able to create crews and colonies that combine the best of both types of humanity. And that might be enough. To convince the galaxy that we are not a threat, Dr. Song added, we are an opportunity. Sojin's voice came through the speakers again. What do you need us to do? Help us perfect the integration process, Elder Cho replied. For the battle that is coming. Taeho looked around at his crew, then at the adapted humans of New Terra. How long do we have? Based on the military movements we are tracking, about 4 months, Dr. Song replied. Then we better get started, Taeho said. So Jin, are you ready to help save the future of human evolution? I have been ready since the day I survived my first week on Kepler 44c, Sojin replied. Let us show the galaxy what humans can really become. As they began planning for the months ahead, Taeho realized that his rescue of Sojin had led to something much bigger than he had ever imagined. They were not just helping one Deathworld survivor anymore. They were helping to determine the future of humanity itself. And for the first time since his legs had stopped working, Taeho felt truly excited about what was coming next. 4 months later, Captain Taeho was walking through the gardens of New Terra without his wheelchair. The integration therapy with Sojin had been painful and difficult, but it had worked. His nervous system had learned to work with her bioelectric field instead of fighting against it. How do you feel? Asked Dr. Song Na-young as she checked his latest medical readings. Different, Taeho replied honestly. I can sense electronic systems around me now. When Sojin is nearby, it feels like I can think faster and react quicker than ever before. That is exactly what we hoped would happen, Dr. Song said with satisfaction. You and Sojin have become the first successful integration pair between normal and adapted humans. They were walking through a section of the garden where plants from dozens of different worlds grew together in impossible harmony. Flowers that should have been poisonous to each other thrived side by side, creating colors and patterns that no single world could produce. Captain, came Sojin's voice from the communication device on his wrist. She was still connected to the Harmony's edge, which was now permanently docked at New Terra. Long-range sensors are detecting the approach of multiple fleets. Taeho's good mood immediately disappeared. How many ships? 47 vessels from 8 different alien governments, Sojin replied, led by a Galactic Health Authority command ship and 3 Chronari battlecruisers. Elder Cho Hyan-woo's voice came over the colony's communication system. All residents to defensive positions. The final confrontation has begun. Taeho hurried to New Terra's command center, where dozens of adapted humans were coordinating the colony's defenses. He found Commander Jin Seok and Dr. Murray working alongside colonists whose adaptations were so dramatic, they barely looked human anymore. What is our defensive capability? Taeho asked Elder Cho. Limited, the elder replied grimly. We have 12 modified ships and about 300 adapted humans with various combat-useful abilities. Against 47 military vessels, our chances are not good. What about the integration protocol? Taeho asked. How many successful pairs do we have? Dr. Song looked up from her console. Besides you and Sojin, we have managed to create 15 other integration pairs in the past 4 months, but they are not as advanced as you two. At that moment, the lead enemy ship began broadcasting a message that was transmitted throughout New Terra. This is Admiral Kexmore of the Galactic Health Authority, came a cold alien voice, the human. Colony known as New Terra is hereby declared a Class 6 biological hazard. All inhabitants are ordered to surrender immediately for quarantine and study. Elder Cho activated the colony's response system. This is New Terra Colony Central. Are peaceful settlers living on worlds that no other species can inhabit? We pose no threat to galactic security. Your very existence is a threat, Admiral Kexmore replied. Humans who can adapt to any environment represent an unacceptable risk to established galactic order. You will surrender or you will be destroyed. So much for diplomatic solutions. Jin Seok muttered. Taeho looked around the command center at the faces of people who had survived the worst environments in the galaxy, only to face destruction for the crime of refusing to die when they were. Suppose to Sojin, he said into his communication device. Are you ready to show them what integrated humans can really do? I have been ready for months, she replied. But Captain, what we are about to attempt has never been done before. We could all die. We're going to die anyway if we do nothing, Taeho replied. At least this way, we die fighting. Elder Cho was listening to their conversation. What are you planning? Mass integration, Taeho explained. If Sojin can link with all the ships and defensive systems of New Terra simultaneously, and if all the integration pairs can connect with her network, we might be able to coordinate our defenses in ways the enemy cannot predict or counter. Song looked alarmed. That could cause a neural cascade failure. The bioelectric feedback could kill everyone involved. Or it could create something unprecedented, Taeho replied. A network of human consciousness that can think and react faster than any individual or computer system. The first enemy ships began their attack, sending energy beams down toward New Terra's surface. But something incredible happened. Defensive system on all 12 planets activated simultaneously, creating an energy shield that blocked the attack completely. How was that possible? They heard Admiral Kexmore demand over the communication channel. Because we are not fighting you as individuals anymore, Taeho replied, broadcasting on all frequencies. We are fighting you as a collective consciousness of adapted humanity. Sojin had linked not just with the Harmony's edge, but with every ship, defensive system, an electronic device throughout the new Terra colony. The 15 integration pairs had connected with her network, creating a web of human consciousness that could process information and coordinate responses at impossible speeds. The enemy fleet tried to attack from multiple directions at once, but the new Terra defenses anticipated every move. Ships that should have been destroyed danced through space, avoiding weapons fire. Defense systems that should have been overwhelmed worked together with perfect coordination. "This is impossible," Admiral Kexmore broadcast. "Biological creatures cannot achieve this level of coordination." "You are right," Elder Cho replied. "Biological creatures cannot. But we are not just biological anymore. We are something new." The battle continued for 3 hours, but it was clear from the beginning that the enemy had no chance of winning. Every time they tried a new attack strategy, the integrated network of New Terra adapted to counter it. Ships that had never worked together before moved like parts of a single organism. Finally, Admiral Kexmore requested a ceasefire. "What do you want?" he demanded. "Recognition," Tejo replied. "We want the galaxy to understand that adapted humans are not a threat to be eliminated. We are humanity's gift to the galaxy." "What kind of gift?" "The gift of adaptation, Elder," Cho explained. "We can survive and thrive in environments where no other species can exist. We can integrate with technology in ways that open up new possibilities for exploration and development. We can work together with a level of coordination that makes us capable of solving problems that individual species cannot handle alone." Dr. Song transmitted data about their integration research to the enemy fleet. "We are offering to share our knowledge freely with any species that wants to learn from us instead of destroy us." There was a long silence before Admiral Kexmore replied, "You are asking us to recognize adapted humans as a legitimate branch of human evolution. We are asking you to recognize that evolution does not stop just because it makes some people uncomfortable," Tejo replied. After several hours of discussion between the various alien governments, Admiral Kexmore transmitted their decision. "The Galactic Council has agreed to establish the Terran Adaptation Accords," he announced. "New Terra will be recognized as a sovereign territory. Adapted humans will be classified as a protected evolutionary branch. And integration research will be supported by the galactic scientific community." The celebration throughout New Terra was immediate and overwhelming. People who had spent years hiding from the galaxy could finally live openly. But for Tejo, the best part came later, when he was walking through the gardens again with Sojin. For the first time since her rescue, she had disconnected from the ship's systems and was walking beside him in her physical form. "How does it feel to be back in your own body?" he asked. "Strange," she admitted, "but good. I miss being able to touch things directly." They stopped beside a fountain where water from 7 different worlds flowed together, creating patterns that sparkled in the light of New Terra's sun. "What happens now?" Sojin asked. Replied, "We show the galaxy that humans do not just survive in impossible places. We thrive there, and we make those places better for everyone." Sojin smiled and took his hand. For the first time since their first contact, the touch did not cause pain or paralysis. Instead, it felt like coming home. "I got a message today," she said, another distress signal from an uncharted sector. "A human colony ship that has been missing for 50 years. "Another Deathworld?" Tejo asked. "Probably the worst one yet," Sojin replied. "Are you interested?" Tejo looked out at the ships of New Terra, each one now capable of things that had been impossible just months before. He thought about his crew, who had become something more than human through their willingness to adapt and grow. "When do we leave?" he asked. "Tomorrow," Sojin replied. "But this time, we are not going as rescuers. We're going as explorers, ready to discover what new kinds of humans we might find." As they walked back toward the Harmony's edge, Tejo realized that touching the Deathworld girl had not just affected his legs. It had changed everything about what it meant to be human, and he could not wait to see what came next.